Hey, Brian Losey here, Ian Munson with Priority One Fishing. We are doing some autumn fishing at Strawberry. We're chasing some cutthroat, we're chasing some rainbows, and we're trying to get on that fall bite here. So we're going to bring to you today some trolling techniques, as well as some jerk baits and some of these bigger, almost bass techniques for these fish, and see if we can't pick up a few monsters on camera. This fishery is known for producing some big fish, especially when you get into the fall bite. What we're seeing today is we're seeing a pretty good temperature drop just ahead of a cold front coming in. So we're hoping that the fish put the feed bags on and we pick up a few of those fish on camera here for you. So stay tuned. We're going to see if we can show you a few of these techniques. Brian Losey again, Ian Munson with Priority One Fishing, fishing Strawberry Reservoir, fall patterns for trout. We're hoping to get the bite before the wind picks up. We got projections for wind out of the southwest this afternoon coming in, so hopefully it stays pretty calm here for a little while anyways. We're going to move here in a second, see if we can get on some fish. We just thought we'd get out here and enjoy the sunrise for a minute. We're sitting at about 82 feet of water. I did have one fish hit. I don't know if you saw that on camera. So it is an indication we might see the fish up pretty shallow today. Now, when you fall fish for trout specifically, you've got to keep into consideration their comfort zones, along with what their bait fish are doing and what their food sources are doing as well. We've got a little bit of an algae bloom, late season algae bloom. We've had some 80-degree temperatures in the last few days. It's caused this bloom to really start to become prevalent on this lake, and it tends to bring a lot of those smaller bait fish and other sources of food for the trout up close to the surface of the water. The key with it is, though, you got to get that surface temp down. And here about a week and a half ago, the surface temperature was 68 degrees. We're down around 55 degrees now, so we're getting closer to that magic number. Once we get between 48 and 54, you really start seeing these fish turn on to that big bite. So we are playing around with, say, a couple of jerk baits, big jerk baits. I'm fishing a 120. For those that are not familiar with that sizing, it is about 5-inch jerk bait for trout, and so it's technically what you'd be using for smallmouth and largemouth and other species. But this lake, they like those bigger baits, so if that big bite is on, it could be an absolute riot of a day. Ian over here, he's running a small jig. Just tipped it with a little bit of bait here to see if he can't pick up something deep while we're waiting for the sun to come up here. So we'll be back with you in just a moment. We might move another location and see if we can't get in maybe a little shallower, get on the slide, get up in that 50-60 foot range, and see if those fish are coming in a little bit closer to the bank right now. So stay tuned. Okay, we're gonna mix it up. We're gonna run a bait called a Reaper. Yeah, it's kind of a green pumpkin color, a little bit of copper flake in it. What I'm doing is I'm putting about an 1/8 ounce jig head on it, like so. And with the Reaper, you have these large paddle tails. I'm just gonna split the tail. Go right there, and we're gonna juice it up a little bit with a little bit of a garlic attractant. What fish think it is, I have no idea. Maybe it's like a nice piece of garlic bread or something, I don't know, but they like it. And we're gonna gamble. I usually put a liter on this of fluorocarbon, just not only to help hide the line a little bit, but also to give me that a little bit of stiffness to the line that helps control these jigs better. But we're going to try going straight to this Ultra Carrier 8 line that I have on here. If you haven't tried that line by Berkley, you got to give it a shot. It's similar to a fire line and also similar to a nanofill, kind of properties of both, but with an 8-thread weave. So you end up with a line.
Is it a true fuse line brush?
This right here, yeah, it has the fuse coating on the outside to give it the slickness. That's where you kind of get that nanofill type of a feel to it. It's not a unifilament construction by any means. It is a braid, but with that type of construction with an 8-thread weave, you get a true round construction on it as well, so that it works really well on spinning reels. And because of the fusion, you actually have quite a bit of stiffness to this line, which really helps with wind. So I know there's quite a few mixed reviews out there about how people hate the stiffness or they like the stiffness. There's either pluses or minuses either way. But I'd say if you haven't thrown a stiff line in the wind versus a soft line in the wind, you can really see the difference. So excellent line if you get a chance to try that. All right, let's give her a shot. Get him? Yep. Nice. You got it on the drop. I don't have a rod holder to put this thing in. Set it up there. Me and that guy. Not a bad little start to the day. You got him here?
Yeah, it's so tight. Jeez. Get him back since he needs some.
Got him in the shop.
He needs to get recovered, I think.
Now, first cutthroat of the day, but a little longer than projected to get him out of the net, so we just had to get him back real quick. Didn't want to kill the fish. So.
Hanging around too long.
We'll get one on camera. We'll give you some close-ups of the Bear River cut. Show you.
I flashed it.
Yeah. Show you some details on these beautiful fish. There he goes. Whoa, racehorse. Under the boat. And we might have a rainbow on our hands. Yeah, we got a rainbow. Wondered why he's fighting a little harder. First rainbow of the day. Hang on to him. Try to do without a net here. And come on, fish. Yep, a lot of similarities between cutthroat and rainbow, but some obvious differences as well. And that's our first little rainbow of the day. Nice little fish. All right. Oop, there he goes. Out of here a little bit. Okay, let's take a second and show you kind of what we're using today. So I'm using what I call a spear tail. It's a little panfish baby shad, which looks like I have to replace now because that fish chewed that one up. This one's, you can see the spear tail, kind of where it gets its name, has that kind of long straight tail here. Chartreuse, kind of light colored chartreuse. This one's almost translucent. And then I'm using a VMC Moon Eye jig. Excellent hooks. I mean, these are chemically sharpened hooks, real strong. They hold up to these trout, especially when they change direction rapidly. Then we're running a fluorocarbon leader up to my Berkley Ultra Carrier 8 line. That helps with castability with these really small jigs. And that jig itself is about 1/16 of an ounce, so we're running really light. We're just kind of trying to hover it about 4 or 5 feet under this algae bloom. And it seems to be what those fish are after. We're about 58, 59 feet of water right now. We do have marks down low, but the fish that are active seem to really be up high. We have tried to jig those fish that are down low, but can't seem to get any response out of them. So we'll replace the plastic here. We're gonna see if we can catch a few more fish for you.
A lot of times when you feed it down to them and just let that hover happen, when you bring a little more pressure on, you'll just feel the weight and it'll be loaded.
Yeah, you can pull that plastic down a little bit. Changes the action of the bait and then they shut off of it. Chartreuse. And first cast.
got some weight, I think.
A little better fish?
Well, the reason I wanted that is I was gonna, with a heavier jig, that keeps me reeling, you know?
Yeah.
Instead of a twitch, just to see if it made a difference or not.
Yeah, and you got all the action without the actual motion.
Right.
You a net person?
I think he will use this guy.
Yeah? Yeah?
I just hand me a net if you can.
You got it? Go on, grab for it. Yeah. I have to show you this on my camera. A little better fish, probably the best fish of the day so far. He's a little bigger, I think. He's a little bigger than that one we got. River cutthroat.
There you go. Oh, he's missing a fin.
Yeah.
I think that first one was a little bigger.
Yeah, it might have been a little bigger.
Not bad. Aggressive strikes. I didn't even put scent on that one.
Yeah, all the action.
Yeah, it's just that. I think that color definitely makes it.
That's the bait of choice. See if we can get a few more fish. Okay, we're back here on Strawberry. We probably saw we caught quite a few fish, throwing some small panfish jigs at them. Well, the bite seems to be slowing down a bit. Sun's getting a little higher in the sky, and we got a lot of light penetration coming through the water now, and subsequently the fish are dropping down in the water column a bit. So we're going to try a couple of different techniques for you. We're going to go do some trolling and maybe switch back into some casting, some cranks and stuff like that later on, some jerk baits. We'll see what happens if the wind starts picking up. Sometimes those bigger baits can provoke a pretty good strike. But for trolling, let's show you kind of what we're doing. We're not using downriggers, but we're going to be able to attack almost any depth we want to without using a downrigger, and really control it quite well, almost to what you could with a downrigger. Now, part of that rig can be done a couple different ways. So you can do a 50-50 rig, where you're actually running 50 feet of line, a weight, 50 feet of line, a planer board. I mean, there's a bunch of different methods to be able to control depth when you're trolling without a downrigger. What we're going to use is a slide sinker rig, and there's a lot of charts out there on the websites and internet and a bunch of different places you can find them that will show you these slide sinker rigs with formulas, how much line, at what speed, at what depth you're going to run, with what weight you're using, and most of them are pretty accurate. It's a pretty consistent formula regardless of where you find your information at. But this is basically what it is. So we're running a slide. Now these sinker slides are often used either for catfish, for steelhead. You see them in a bunch of different applications used for those species. And we're just free sliding it up and down the line. We're using a 12-pound test line as our main line. give us you know, a thinner line for trolling in general, to get those depths we need to with the sinker we're using, but also give us enough strength that we still have that knot integrity, that we're not going to lose, you know, $15–20 worth of pop gear or dodgers. Next, I'm putting 3 8mm beads. Now, why 3? Well, if you take a look at this slide, and keep in mind we're going to be attaching a weight to that slide. We have another swivel attached there. We want to keep those two separated pretty well, because as you're moving on the boat, there's a lot of things that happen. There's a lot of line twists, there's a lot of movement, and if you hit vegetation, anything like that, that weight can actually swing up and tangle around your swivel and cause a whole bunch of problems, especially when you're moving on the boat. And we want to make sure we keep that far enough away that it eliminates that problem. I like to use pretty good sized swivels. It's a lot easier to apply pressure to a large swivel and get it to rotate than it is a little tiny swivel, especially when you're using lighter lines. That line's going to twist way before the swivel even starts moving on those small swivels, so a big swivel is my favorite way to go. Next, we're going to run about, we got about 3.5, maybe getting close to 4 feet of leader here. I'll grab my hooks. And that leader I downsize a little bit. I go down to about a 10-pound test on the leader, and we're getting down to what we're going to be using size-wise for the fish that we're targeting. And it doesn't have to be fluorocarbon. It could be a regular nylon. I happen to use fluorocarbon on this one. The fluorocarbon piece is going to be on this other section. Now, this is a dodger, small dodger, often used for kokanee. And we put a pretty aggressive bend in this dodger to get more action, especially if we drop down to a drift technique with trolling. We might be down about 1.2 to 1.5 miles an hour. We still want to have a lot of flash and a lot of action out of that dodger, so bending that can give that to us. Then I run my fluorocarbon. Now, fluorocarbon on this one is a little longer than what you would use for kokanee. Kokanee, I would keep my rig, my squid, my spinner, whatever I'm using, about 9 to 12 inches from the dodger, because there's really no action on that squid, and you're relying on the dodger to give it action as it's going through the water. But we're running a spinner and going for trout. We got a lot of action on this spinner here we're running here, so we're putting it about 18 to 20 inches away from the dodger, and it is a little wedding ring. So a wedding ring made by Max Lure Company. Great little option. I mean, these are fish killers all over the country. And I've modified it a little bit. I actually redid the line so that I had a little stronger line than what came out of the package, and I put a second hook on there, a little stinger hook, in light of how tentative these fish are biting right now. So we want to make sure we get some good hookup on these fish. Okay, that's basically the rig. What we're going to use for weight today on this particular one is about 3 ounces. So I've got a 3-ounce round weight. You can use bell weights, you can use anything really round like that. You don't want to use angular weights like pyramid sinkers. They will spin like crazy in the water when you're trolling and cause a ton of mess on your trolling gear. This one's about 3 ounces. On the next rig we're going to do about 2 ounces, and we're going to vary some lengths off the back of the boat when we're trolling to achieve a couple of different depths. This one will probably end up running about 80 feet or so. The 2-ounce rig we're going to put maybe 100 feet out. That way we can achieve depths between about 23, 25 feet and maybe down to about 30 feet as we vary our speeds. So that should catch them. Let's give it a shot and see if we can put a few fish on camera here for you, showing you some slide sinker trolling techniques here with Priority 1 Fishing. A smooth retrieve is critical to landing these fish. No need to set the hook after you pull the rod out of the rod holder. With the movement of the boat and that preloaded rod, it does most of the work for you. To help out with that, with the slide sinker technique, we're using linear fiberglass rods. These are about 7.5 to 8 feet in length, and line counter reels, which are critical to knowing how much line we have off the back of the boat in relationship to the weight and the speed that we're traveling at to get us to the depth that we're trying to get to.
Notice as Ian reaches the desired length of line on the line counter reel that he is engaging a clicking mechanism on the reel, which is a strike click alarm. Then backing off the star drag to where the line just about wants to pull off the reel will set you in position for the strike. That fish grabs the bait, you'll hear that clicker engage, and it'll set the hook for you.
Sounds like it could be a bit challenging.
Ooh, that's a good fish. That acted like a good hit. Still good? Feel like you there?
Well, sometimes you lose them. Just goes to show how tentative some of these strikes can be. We didn't quite get a chance to show you those jerkbait and crankbait techniques. Strawberry wind caught up with us today. But fall fishing at Strawberry can be one of the best times of the year to catch numbers of fish. So get out here while the fishing is hot. Remember to subscribe to us on our YouTube channel at Priority One Fishing. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. And until next time, tight lines and good times.